Released in 2005, Resident Evil 4 really changed the game, figuratively speaking. Its slow, careful, calculated combat requiring a great deal of resource management, conscious movement, and critical thinking, combined with its frightening atmosphere and comically cheesy moments of dialogue, cemented it as a permanent landmark of gaming culture. And of course, it went on to inspire many games that came after. Dead Space is often considered to be one of the best horror games of all time. Known for its immersive atmosphere that induces a deep sense of fear and paranoia in the player through the audio and environment, its gameplay takes a great deal of inspiration from its more rambunctious predecessor, requiring careful consideration as to how the player goes about using their tools and the environment to make up for their lack of speed and maneuverability, as well as the extremely claustrophobic environment they find themselves in. In this video, I discuss the elements of Dead Space that make its atmosphere and gameplay so special. The HUD, audio design, setting, and story all contribute to the effectiveness of this game's horror and immersion. The audio in this game serves to provide an intense feeling of paranoia in the player, ensuring they are on edge at all times and never feel safe. When danger finally does arrive, it is a moment of extreme panic and fear. The player is constantly exposed to echoes of distant screams or monsters crawling through the walls and ceilings all around them. This game's music often intensifies in certain areas or at certain times. Combined with the player character's audible, accelerating heartbeat, this creates a feeling of extreme tension, enhanced by the fact that all these sounds and frightening music may lead to nothing at all. So one can never be certain what lies around the corner. When an enemy is finally seen, the music spikes, resulting in a feeling of intense terror. Note that this spike comes from the player seeing the monster itself. It is possible for a monster to be making its way towards the player, even being in the same room, without the music indicating as such until the player themselves shines the light on them. Because of this, players may hear the enemy approaching by the sounds of their footsteps or groans before turning to see them, further intensifying the fear response. Dead Space's HUD is different from many of its contemporaries, in that it is entirely self-contained within the world itself, rather than being separate information plastered on the screen. The game relies heavily on its immersion for the enjoyment of the experience, and the HUD greatly contributes to this. All essential information is displayed on the player character's suit or in the world, with very little need for outside menus that may break the player's immersion. Health, stasis energy, and ammunition are all displayed on the player's suit or weapon, and makes sense in the context of the world and lore, greatly improving immersion. Even the inventory is shown as a hologram displayed on the suit or weapon of the player character. In space, nobody can hear you scream. Alien showed how scary science fiction can be in horror, especially with the eerie sense of isolation and the fear of the unknown invoked by the vast, silent, unknown void of space. This cosmic horror and loneliness Dead Space takes full advantage of. Nearly every time you come across a real, living human being, you arrive too late to save them before they are taken to death in some grisly, unpleasant fashion while you watch just barely out of reach, further enforcing that horrifying isolation. The silence is deafening, and for the most part, one can only hear the mechanical churnings of the dying vessel they're stranded upon, or the pained cries of the horrid creatures all around them. In conclusion, Dead Space is one of the most immersive, frightening games ever made. Using surround audio, the cleverly designed HUD and user interface, and the mysterious story and horrifying, isolating setting, Dead Space is an experience that no game has fully replicated since.